Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and I have the pleasure once again of introducing you to our Director of Agriculture here in the Buckeye State, Brian Baldridge. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be with you.
Of course, we're at Farm Science Review, and you have a little history here at the Farm Science Review. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So grew up running around here. I even remember back when it was at Don Scott Field.
Oh, yeah.
I was a youngster. We had a hybrid seed corn business. My dad was an agronomist and a proud graduate from The Ohio State University. So it was a lot of fond memories, and then moved over here to where we're at today. And I still remember the street, 68 Chemical Avenue. Now agriculture's changed. We've changed with the times. That street now is named Conservation. And I think that's the foundation of the Farm Science Review, looking at where we've been in agriculture, where we are today, and then obviously looking into that great future that we have ahead of us.
Well, one of the things that we've always experienced here at Farm Science Review are some of the combines out there. You get to see the demonstrations out there. And usually the Farm Science Review people plant early enough so that they can harvest. The unfortunate thing is that we've got a lot of farmers and producers that are harvesting early as well. So let's talk about that drought and how it's affecting our producers here in the Buckeye State.
Sure, as we look at this drought and where we're at, and obviously we know that this started in southeast Ohio, it's moved into southern Ohio, and now we're really ramping up across the state looking at where we're at in the drought numbers. But the real impact, and we've been out and about a lot, talking with folks, talking with our ag folks, and especially in these areas. A lot of what we're seeing right now is affecting from the livestock standpoint. We're in eastern Ohio, where there's a lot of cow-calf operations, a lot of pastures, and to hear folks that have been feeding hay from the end of June, 1st of July till now, that winter crop that they should be feeding starting in October on average, and on top of that, hauling water. I've talked to folks who are hauling water 3 to 4 hours a day. And just realizing it has changed their business model drastically. And they're feeling the pressures. Here at the Ohio Department of Agriculture, we're heavily engaged with those folks, listening to them, but also encouraging, one, document. Keep track of all your extra miles that you're traveling, those costs that you're incurring, and then engage. And that's engaging with USDA, our farm service agencies, realizing that the programs that are in place, these are programs that have been in place across our country, and they're here for our ag community when these type of catastrophic events occur, or historic is probably a best word, because we are seeing a D4, which is historic since these maps have been utilized in drought conditions. So this is historic, and we're really worried as we look at the lowest the Hocking River has been since the 1930s. Wow. So it is concerning. We're heavily engaged, but really talking with our ag community. And I think the other thing we need to think about, one thing that we don't talk a lot about, is mental health. We have to keep an eye on our neighbors. A lot of times individually, we don't think that we need help ourselves and we don't reach out. We've got to change that first. And number two is just watch out for our neighbors and realize the pressures that they're going through, and keep an eye on them.
Brian, I think you spoke earlier here about safety nets, and of course our farmers need that. One of the biggest safety nets that we need is the Farm Bill. We need the Farm Bill passed. So what can you say to our producers out there about contacting their congressmen, our senators, about telling them to get off their keister and get something done? Come on, man.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Ohio's not alone. From the departments of ag all across the country, we continue to talk from the agricultural community the importance to get this Farm Bill passed and what it means to the agricultural community. We've been engaged, a lot of commodities engaged. We're all engaged with our congressional members, but we have to continue that engagement. We can't give up, and we need to push through and say, hey, to your point, it's time to get it done.
It's kind of unusual. We always have like 3 to 4 cuttings of hay in the Buckeye State, depending upon where you're at, and we're always the one that's coming to the rescue for the Midwest or out west when they've had all kinds of hazardous situations, conditions, weather related problems, and we're out there stacking it up and taking it out there. It's kind of weird to be asking for hay in Ohio.
Well, to think about where we're at in the hay, the challenges, it's something different. We're not used to this. I think back to 1988, and I was 2 years out of high school, but who's counting? But so I was heavily engaged with our farm and realized the impact that 1988 had, which was what I remember is my worst drought as a farmer myself. But yeah, we've been there, and I think it's unique right now. Northwest Ohio, I was up in Northwest Ohio recently, and they were finishing up a third cutting. So this is regional in Ohio, and also pushes into West Virginia pretty heavily. So as we look at this, hopefully our own, in the great state of Ohio, we can take care of each other for a little bit, because there is some production, some pretty good inventories of hay in other parts of the state. One of the things that we've put together too is a directory here at ODA to help connect those dots, that cool. Farmers have inventory of hay that they're willing to sell to areas of the state who need hay.
Cool. I'm glad we mentioned that. I want to talk about your team. You couldn't do it alone. You have a fantastic team at the Department of Agriculture, right?
Absolutely, and so proud. And Department of Agriculture, 530 employees, 10 buildings, 5 laboratories, and all to lift up and drive forward the future of agriculture here in our great state. And the team is wonderful. About half of our employees are at our campus, and the other half are scattered throughout our state in every corner, making sure that we're collaborating, whether it's with our processing individual, meat processors, folks producing foods. Safety is a top priority at ODA, but it's truly collaboration between government, meaning the Department of Agriculture, and our private sector folks who are out there producing food each and every day.
And that website again?
The Ohio Department of Agriculture. Search that, it'll pop up. And really and truthfully, as we talk about this drought, we have made it a top focus on our webpage to be that resource page to point folks in the right direction. So please turn to the Ohio Department of Agriculture.
It's all about interaction, and it doesn't get any better in Farm Science Review, does it?
Oh my goodness, so many great memories out here as a youngster, and what a great weather. I know we're hoping for rain. Not a very good dancer, so my rain dance isn't very good. But as we
don't want to see that.
Yeah, let's stop there. But as we look at the weather here at this year's Farm Science Review, it's tremendous, and so it's great to see everybody out, and just what a wonderful event.
Director of Agriculture here in the Buckeye State, Brian Baldridge, once again our guest. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be with you.
And we'll be back with more in Ohio Country today, right after this.